It's the first week of April, and that means quarter one numbers for University Hills market update are out. So we're going to go take a deep dive into what's going on in our neighborhood, what's going on with all these tariffs out there and news and all these headlines. Is that affecting the market? Well, we're going to take a deep dive into it and find out. Now, I want to separate out Uhills into basically four chunks. Got the entirety of University Hills, which is going to go all the way up to Evans, all the way down to Hamden, Colorado, and I-25. Then I'm going to break it down into the western part, which is west side of Dahlia, east side of Dahlia, and then the northern chunk, which is that piece north of Yale, because they are three distinct different areas of Uhills with three distinct values and amount of inventory and what's moving and all that good stuff. So let's just jump right into it. And for those of you who don't know me, my name's Alex Saldana. I've been a local agent since 2010, helping hundreds of buyers, sellers move around, relocate around the Denver metro area. And if you ever need anything and want to know what's going on weekly in our amazing market here, just go ahead and get on my email list. The link is in the description. But without further ado, let's just jump right in. Starting off, we're going to look at a few key metrics, right, in each chunk. We're going to look at how many homes have sold, the days on the market, the active inventory out there, right? Purely supply and demand, the median close price, and the months of inventory. So you can kind of keep track of what's going on here. Let's just start off with all of University Hills and the homes sold. What you're seeing here now, these are yearly numbers. So for 2025 so far, we've had 31 homes sold in all of University Hills. Now that's compared to 152 total homes last year, 121 the year before. So we're more tracking towards 2023 than we were 2024. But if we want to go back and we want to look at just what's going on compared to quarter one of last year, let's just go ahead and narrow that down to January to March 2024. We sold 29 properties, so two more than we did last year. So as we go through quarter two, I will for sure keep you posted on what's going on there. Okay. So days on market. What we're seeing across the entire Denver metro area is that days on market is generally going up, and University Hills is no different. So far in 2025, the average days on market has been 45 versus last year at 38 versus 2023 at 24. So if you put your house on the market, you've been looking for a property, you know that things are just kind of hanging out for a little bit longer. We're looking an average of about 6 weeks right now. All right. The amount of active inventory on all of Uhills is sitting just at about 50 right now. That peaked out this last year in July around 57. And so we'll see, or in October, 57. And so we'll see this year, what we've got going on, because across the entire Denver metro area, we definitely have about 40% more inventory than we did last year. So significant numbers there across the board. We're holding a bit more steady than the rest of Denver, which is a good thing. All right, months of inventory. Let's look at that one first. So far, what we've got here, we've just got about under 4 months of inventory, which 4 to 6 months is considered a balanced market. So we did peak out almost at 8 months of inventory during this last year. So we definitely had a period where it felt like an extreme buyer's market for a little bit in the neighborhood specifically. But, those numbers correct each other over the holidays as people pull their properties off the market. They kind of, balance what's going on out there. And we can see right now, we're just a normal amount of active inventory numbers. And then the median close price over this year is up just a little bit, up to 604 from last year at 584. So up about 10,000 year over year, 1.5% to 2%. But as we can see over the last 3 years, 2023, 2022, we were at 600. So we've essentially been flat for 3 years now, going on year number 4. So just something to keep an eye on here. But I'm going to break down these different parts of Uhills, and you're going to see that not all these zones are created equally. Some have gone up and some have gone down. Okay. So now let's go ahead and take a look at the western side of Uhills. Okay. So we're talking from Dahlia to Colorado, from Yale down to Hamden. Okay. This part, if you're not super familiar, this part of University Hills, right where King Supers is, all the way down to the golf course down to Wellshire down there. That's definitely a distinct part of University Hills, the biggest homes, the most expensive homes. And so over the last quarter so far, 8 properties have sold, right? Compared to last year at 47. So if we stay on track for that, that's going to be selling significantly less than we have year over year. But we stay steady over the last 3 years. So I have no doubts during quarter 2 and into quarter 3 are definitely a lot more hyper than quarter 1. So I don't doubt that we're going to pick up the pace a little bit here. Okay. All right. Days on market. Boom. Exploded. Went up to 81 days on market on average compared to last year at 47. I mean, that's almost double, right? That's a huge difference year over year in days on market. Now, for the entire Denver market, it's not so extreme. Like we can come back and look here. This is the entire Denver market. The days in MLS, are down to 55, where last year they were at 47. So up 10 days approximately year over year, up 17% here in Uhills. We are up significantly more, a good 50% plus. All right, active inventory on the west side of Uhills here. We've got about 22 right now, it looks like, which is that's a solid amount of properties for sale on the west side. And if we're only selling 8 in a month, we've got over 3 months of inventory right now if nothing new were to come on the market. And there are going to be a lot more that come on the market. 'Tis the season, for $2 million homes to start hitting the market here in Uhills. All right. Median close price on the west side here. 1.055 compared to last year at 875. Big jump. I mean, that's almost a $200,000, 20% jump in price year over year. Why is that? Well, I'm going to put a lot of it on more large new builds coming to the market and closing on the west side of Dahlia, like the smaller $500,000, $600,000 homes are just fewer and far between. So this is going to skew these numbers a lot, but on paper looks pretty solid. And the west side of Dahlia is definitely pulling up the numbers from the other 2 parts of our neighborhoods. All right, so let's go on to the east side of Dahlia here. 16 homes sold compared to last year's 65, compared to the year before 50. Now compared to what it was in quarter 1 only, let's take a look here. That was 18, so a couple less. Flat, marginally different. Nothing really notable about that. Days on market on the east side of Uhills is 28, down from 38. So actually less days on the market. Why? Well, east side of Dahlia, they're going to be smaller homes, more in the 500s, 600s than on the west side of Dahlia. And so just a bigger buyer pool, right? More first-time home buyers still able to break into the market. And if you look at the bigger picture around University Hills, I mean, this is probably the most inexpensive part for a couple of miles. You make the jump across I-25 and the homes start to get bigger and more expensive. Bible Park is definitely bigger. North and Holly Hills, they definitely get quite a bit more expensive. You start to get some mid-century moderns up in Virginia Village. They start to break the price up there. You jump west over to Wellshire, and those prices are in the millions easily. U Park, same there. So, I mean, you go south of Hamden and then you start flirting with Cherry Creek or Cherry Hills, I should say. And on the other side of Hamden and I-25 over here, you've got 3,000 square foot houses in the 900s, right? So this is the only neighborhood that you can get into basically in the 500s within a couple of miles of any direction. So, the buyer pool is going to be bigger. And I think that's why we're seeing the difference here in days on market actually being a little bit less. All right. Amount of active inventory on this side of Dahlia is sitting not too high at 14. So that's actually sitting pretty steady as opposed to the last couple of years. So good things happening in the lower priced pocket of University Hills. All right, and the median close price, let's see how that's tracking. All right. So what's interesting here is actually in 2022, the median close price on the east side of Dahlia was 600,000, and that dropped all the way down to 530. So more than a 10% drop, right? You're talking 13% drop. And then it went up to 545, then back down to 530 so far in 2025. So we'll keep you posted as far as what's going on. But essentially, we've had a couple of down years as opposed to the craziness of 2022. So not super surprised, but like I said, I'll keep you posted as things go on here. Now, the northern side of University Hills, this is kind of the unofficial Uhills, which is north of Yale here. So many new builds going up, so much new construction, new almost apartment building feeling like stuff, townhomes, row homes, garages on the first floor, and then you got kitchen on the second floor, bedrooms on the third floor, real narrow stuff. There's still quite a bit of that going on. The zoning there allows for a lot more changes. Lots of construction happening here on Colorado with the commercial space side of things too. So interesting things happening on the northern side of University Hills. And what we can see is that there's only been 7 so far this year compared to 40 the year before and 27 back in 2023. Now, new builds are going to comprise a large portion of this, right? If a complex gets completed and all of a sudden there's 30 or 40 more units for sale, we could have big up years or big down years for how many have sold. Days on market on the north side of Uhills up to 42 from 29. So tracking in the same direction pretty much as everybody else. And then the amount of active inventory, we're sitting at around 12, 13 right now. We peaked out over 20 earlier this year, towards the end of last year. And, we'll see where this goes. Like I said, with a lot of the new developments, we got to keep an eye on things. Because all of a sudden that could flood the market a little bit with a bunch of new looking units in the northern side of Uhills. Median close price up there has been holding steady up to 604 from 576. That's actually a fairly sizable jump, 30,000, so 5% roughly year over year so far. So if we keep tracking up for the next 3 months approximately, which we do statistically, historically, and so we'll see, where we end up towards the end of the year for the northern part of University Hills. So other than that, what's going on in the market out there? Well, tariffs and this whole trade war thing has a lot of people little freaked out, right? It's the first week of April right now. This is generally the busiest week of the year, right? If you're going to get multiple offers, this is the week to do it. Spring break is over. Kids are back in school. People are preparing for their summer moves. Everybody's getting off the fence if they're a buyer. And then what happened this week? Poof, stock market just bottom fell out of it, right? 10% drop, $6 trillion have been taken out of the market since the first of the year. So it looks pretty scary out there when you're paying attention to the stock market and you got news on 24 hours a day. Real estate wise, for the entire Denver market, we are up 40% in inventory. That is a significant number, yet prices are still holding steady. Interest rates are coming down a little bit. We're down, sitting a little bit below 6.5%. So if we get down into the low sixes, I think that can get some even more buyers off the sidelines. But where does this lead us for the future of real estate, right? So I think we hold steady. I think we're in stalemate season still. And I think we might be there for the next couple of years until something significant changes, whether that's interest rates, whether that's, the bottom falling out of things. I don't know, but we are not here to try to predict that and tell you that it's a great time to buy or it's a great time to sell. Because the truth is, we don't know, right? And when COVID hit, I would have told you were nuts for buying a property, right? That was my personal opinion. And I told some people, hey, this is a really weird time to be a buyer. Are you sure? And look what happened, right? I was clearly wrong. But we're not here to tell you that information. We're here to just give you the information that we have, right? And right now, inventory is building, but prices are still holding steady. There's a lot of sellers that are digging their heels in and not wanting to just drop $100,000 on the price of their property. They don't feel they need to. They don't need to be a seller. They have a 2.5 or 3% interest rate. And so there's a lot of scenarios out there where even though the inventory is building, you don't exactly have a ton of motivated sellers out there just ready to slash and burn prices to make their property disappear. Okay. So we have a lot of stalemate stuff, a lot of grittiness happening in a lot of transactions right now. And that's what we're here to help you get through. If you want to kind of talk about the nuances of the market, by all means, feel free, give me a call, shoot me a text message. My number's here below. And until the next Uhills quarterly report, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you're doing well and happy housing.